Welcome on back to Skippers. Today I am going to look at 4 struggling baseball players and letting you know what I think you should be doing with them if you have them on your fantasy teams. Today's video brought to you by So Rare MLB. Do not forget to subscribe. Join the Discord. Let's get into the 4 players. So I went to the Discord today, asked some of the people in there, who are some guys you're worried about? Who are some guys you're thinking about cutting at this point in time? And these were 4 of the guys that I came up with. The first one, Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles so far this season. He's hitting 180, 4 home runs, 8 runs batted in, 1 stolen base, and a weighted runs created plus of 95. For me, I am going to be holding on to Gunnar Henderson. It was a player that I loved coming into this season, and Henderson has dropped to just 51% rostered in Yahoo leagues. In my main league, I went ahead and picked him up after someone decided to call it quits on Gunnar Henderson. To start, the main issue from last season was his ground ball rate. I thought some swing adjustments and some pitch selection things could help with his super high ground ball rate, and he has fixed that. He had a 60% ground ball rate last season, and it now sits at 42.9% so far this year. As well, for a young guy, Gunnar Henderson has shown off some elite plate discipline and the ability to get on base without relying on the base hits. Obviously, it's baseball. You need the base hits to continue to play in the big leagues at some point, but he's not hitting right now, but he's finding other ways to get on base. His OBP is 336. Not that horrible, and that is thanks to a walk rate of 18.2%, which is in the top 2% of all of the league. We've seen a decrease in his zone contact percentage, which is slightly concerning to me, and he has gone away from pulling the ball. Last year in the big leagues, his fly ball percentage was 15.9%, and he pulled the ball 40% of the time. This season, his fly ball percentage is 28.6%, and his pull percentage is only 27.1%. I think this is going to figure itself out, right? Gunnar Henderson is a guy who's getting up there with a shift last season as well. You don't have those guys in the outfield. You should be able to pull the ball, liners, ground balls through for base hits to get that average up. Kind of weird to see him going the other way, especially when you play at a ballpark where it is great for a left-handed hitter to be pulling balls trying to get them out of the yard. Gunnar Henderson is also struggling big time against sliders, hitting 0.42 against them, and I think that comes with adjusting to big league pitching full time. If you're Gunnar Henderson, you know you're going to be fed a heavy dose of breaking balls going forward, and if he's not making an adjustment there, he's like, what's there to say that the Orioles aren't going to send him down at some point? Plate discipline is there, but there's just a little too much swing and miss. I'll trust the process and hold Gunnar Henderson and his 84th percentile average exit velocity. I think he's a really talented youngster. I think he finds a way to figure it out. The Orioles definitely looking into the numbers, letting him know what is going on. And I think at the end of the season, we're like, okay, Gunnar Henderson, terrible month, terrible start to the season, kind of figure it out by the end, and we'll look into getting him again in 2024. Gunnar Henderson, I am holding on to him. Poster boy for this episode, Alek Manoah of the Blue Jays. So far this season, he's 1-4, 5.40 ERA, 35 strikeouts in 45 innings pitched, and a whip of 1.8. Think it's time to cut ties with Alek Manoah. One of the most disappointing fantasy starts to the season. Manoah is on the verge of a phantom injury, IL stint, going to Buffalo for a little bit to try and get things fixed. He ranks close to the bottom in every category of qualified starting pitchers, as well as close to tripling his walk percentage from last season. Among the 74 qualified starting pitchers in 2023, Alek Manoah's 5.40 ERA is 68th. His 6.45 FIP is 73rd. His 6.01 SIERA is 74th. And his 1.4 strikeout minus walk percentage is 74th. For some odd reason, Alek Manoah dropped his four-seam fastball usage from 35.8% in 2022 to 27.8% in 2023. The slider not working at all has also been a complete mystery. Last year, Manoah's slider returned a batting average against of 190, and so far this season, it's 368. He's lost almost 2 inches of horizontal break on the pitch, and it's almost a full mile an hour slower. As well, he has lost a full mile an hour on his four-seam fastball. He has totally lost his mechanics as well. I think it's going to take him a while to figure this out, and it's shown that he can't figure this out by pitching in games. It hasn't worked out for him recently. He's giving up too much hard contact, not enough competitive pitches, and the inability to get swing and miss have made this a lost first half for Alek Manoah. And unfortunately, the pitch clock has also hurt him in the mental department, I think, as a guy who took the longest between pitches of any starting pitcher last season. Do I think he can figure it out at some point? Sure, but he seems to be going down the 2022 Jose Barrios path, and that is not one you want to be on. Today's video is brought to you by SoRare MLB. On SoRare MLB, you can build a fantasy baseball dynasty and win amazing rewards with SoRare's revolutionary fantasy MLB game. This game transforms baseball fans into general managers. Visit the marketplace to buy, sell, and trade digital player cards to boost your team and progress to advanced competitions with once-in-a-lifetime prizes like merch, game tickets, and VIP packages. SoRare is a free-to-play daily fantasy game where you score points based on the real-life performance of the players in your lineup. When you first sign up for SoRare MLB, you'll get to draft 10 common cards to begin your collection. You'll need to draft 3 starters, a relief pitcher, 2 corner infielders, 2 middle infielders, and 2 outfielders. You're able to enter into modified points league-based tournaments for each game week, where you're able to win prizes determined by how many points your roster scores. SoRare MLB uses a bi-weekly tournament schedule with each game week spanning a 3 to 4 day cycle. At the end of the game week, if your team performed well enough in your tournament, you'll earn rewards in the form of new SoRare MLB cards to add to your collection and strengthen your team for the next tournament. Make sure you click the link in our bio to start playing SoRare MLB today. The third player that I want to talk about is Nick Ladolo of the Reds. He's 2-1, 6.29 ERA, 47 strikeouts in 34 1/3 innings, and a 1.75 whip. I'm buying Nick Ladolo at this point. I said that a couple weeks ago. I'm kind of back in the exact same boat. The last 5 Nick Ladolo starts have been abysmal. In those starts, Ladolo has given up 23 earned runs. But there's a lot to like about the profile besides his incredibly bad home run to fly ball ratio of 27%. Let's look at the expected stats and his FIP numbers. ERA, obviously 6.29, as I said, while his expected ERA almost 2 runs less at 4.89. He has a FIP of 5.84, but an xFIP of 3.77. Ladolo also has a batting average on balls in play against of a crazy 4.35. The BABIP and home run to fly ball ratio numbers show that he is due for some positive regression at some point, and he has been extremely lucky, as well as being punished for having to pitch at Great American Ballpark so often. There's a lot of things that just point to, in general, having positive regression as well. The expected batting average on his curveball is 162, but the actual average is 286. He's running a better ground ball rate than last season. He's still getting a solid amount of swing and miss. And unlike Alek Manoah, I think his process is good. His walks are down, and he is just going through a tough stretch. I believe in the Ladolo bounce back, and I'm buying him right now or picking him up if people are dropping him in your leagues. The last player is Brandon Lowe of the Rays. So far this season, he's hitting 189, 7 home runs, 22 runs batted in, 1 stolen base, and a weighted runs created plus of 96. Brandon Lowe's numbers the last month have been horrific, even after he had an OPS of 1045 over his first 17 games of the season. We look at the last month, Brandon Lowe was 10 for 83, 2 home runs, 10 RBIs, and an OPS of only 454. And one of the main worries with Brandon Lowe is the resurgence of Taylor Walls. Where his bat came from, I don't know, but Walls has taken the majority at bats against left-handed pitchers, and Lowe's just sitting on the bench. Lowe started against the Southpaw on opening day, but he has sat against each of the 8 lefties the Rays have faced since then. If I'm in a deep league, I still want to be holding on to Brandon Lowe because he can go on those runs like the first 17 games of the season that we saw. If you need to rely on batting average for points or categories in your leagues, he really isn't the guy during this tough stretch. But you look at April, he hit 238, decent for him. Okay, but 7 home runs and 18 RBIs. That's a really solid month for anyone production-wise. He's running a batting average of balls in play of only 213 and still running the best zone contact percentage of his career. I understand he's striking out a ton right now, but I don't think this struggle is going to continue for the rest of the season. I thought he had a super good process. He was figuring things out at the start of the season. Now we're just going through a tough stretch, what it's like being a Major League Baseball player. At this point, I'm going to be holding on to Brandon Lowe. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to have 3 more videos coming to you this week. So every day this week, we will have a video coming to you live. Again, join the Discord, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.